exaggerating. I'm not. Let me hit the marker button so I remember. Okay. So, the first story I have from work is that, so I get this lady who rings up, and she's like, I want to get 3 iPad Pros. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure thing, that's like, oh no, she's like, I want to get an iPad Pro. I'm like, oh, okay, oh, sure. So she comes in, she asks me specifically, and I'm like, oh, awesome, sure, you know, sweet, I got a sale. She's like, I want 3. And I was like, oh, I think, let me check if we got them. I go out, I check, we got all 3. They're for her kids. She's getting 3 iPad Pros for her kids. Now, that total is like $5,000 worth of iPads. And I'm like, awesome, you know, like that's great. Now I'm like, because they're kids, I'm like, you should probably get like some accessories with it, like, you know, make sure that they're in safe cases and whatever. Get Remmio and Channel, hi Pidgey. And I'm like, yeah, we'll go through that stuff. And she's like, oh, let me call my husband and like talk to him. And she talks to her husband and she starts getting flustered. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. But then she's like, he like hangs up and she's like, oh, okay, let me call him again. And I'm like, okay, sure thing. And she's like, while I call him, can you talk to your manager and see if you can do us a better deal? If you don't know, Apple products have like fucking no margin, so you can really not do like a lot. But I did like a heap extra off because she was buying 3. It's like a lot of money. So I give her like this fantastic deal, and she calls her husband again, and I tell him how much I'm doing it for, and he's like, oh, it's great, just make sure my wife is happy. And I'm like, okay, kind of weird. And then I'm like, awesome. Now, we talked about accessories earlier. Let me come back to that. And I get back to it, and I'm like, what would you like to? She's like, oh, I could probably get stuff online. I was like, no. I was like, you could, but like here, look, for like, I was like, just the bare minimum. I was like, you should definitely get screen protectors if they're for your kids, because like it'll make sure that they last longer. And I get them, and I like show her how like I bring them down as slow as they can go, because she's buying 3 iPads. Bring it as low as possible. And I'm like, here, look. And it's like, this is an amazing deal. It's like $100 for like 3 premium things. And I show her, and she just looks at it. She goes, no, I can't afford it. It's just like, I had this moment of like, just like sheer of like, you're gonna spend like $5,000, almost like $6,000 on 3 iPads, but you can't pay $100 for like small amount of protection for them. And I just had a moment of like, okay, I guess. She bought all 3. I was like, I just don't understand. Hi Yosh, hi. That's story 1. I think it was the entire budget for the kids. Well, I mean, I took almost as much of, like, I took a lot extra out of the iPads than I'm supposed to. Like, I took them down as low as I could possibly go, pretty much. And then I was like, these are, like, they're almost free. Like, it would be like, maybe like $20-30 extra money that you would have paid to get protection for those. My second story is, okay, so I get it's another, I'll never use the word Karen, alright, I just won't, okay, but this lady comes in, and basically she's like, oh, I want this. I'm like, oh, awesome, yeah, I've got that. I get her the thing, and she's like, also, I ordered some watches, and I haven't been called, it's been a month, and I was like, that's weird. I go find out about these watches, we have the watches, and she's like, oh, normally I can't get any service in here, but you're here today. You're doing a great job. And I was like, oh, no problem. You're after anything else today? And she goes, yeah, I would like a Nintendo Switch. And I was like, oh, this lady just, you know, she just keeps going with this stuff. It's okay. And oh my God. So she's like, I need to switch to my kids. And I'm like, perfect. Yeah, awesome. That's a fantastic thing for your kids to get them for Christmas. And oh my God. The shit I had to go through to sell this Switch. She's like, all right. I was like, should I get a normal Switch or an OLED Switch, like the new Switch? And I was like, you could get either, but the OLED Switch is definitely much cooler. And if you're gonna get a Switch now, it's gonna be a better Switch. And I get the accessories, and she's like, okay, I want 3 games with it. And I was like, okay, sure thing. And she's like, she just starts picking games off the shelf. She's like, she grabs like Minecraft, and like fantastic game to play with kids. She grabs like what was the other one? Animal Crossing. It's like also great, fantastic. They'll keep them entertained for ages. And then she tries to pick up Donkey Kong. And I was like, it's probably not that one. How about like Mario Kart? We get a Mario Kart. And then she goes, So it's like I'm explaining. She doesn't know anything about gaming consoles or anything. So I'm explaining that all of them are like playable straight out of the box. You can use both controllers. She's got 2 of the kids can play right away. Fantastic console. It's got parental controls. Everything she's asking, she's got easy questions, easy answers, like instant answers. And then out of nowhere, like she just turns to me and she says, "How long have you been playing video games?" And I was like 2 decades. And she's like, "Man, think about what you could have done with your life." I was like, what? Just like, I've kind of done a lot with video games in my life, to be honest with you. She's like, really? You know, like, what about like going hiking and stuff? I was like, yeah, I exercise and stuff too. I sort of like was like, I had a moment of like, do I look like I'm fucking some overweight like neckbeard? I don't feel like I am. And she's like, I just don't want my kids to grow up and they're like wasting their time with this. And she's like, I'm only gonna let them play for an hour. And I'm like, yeah, it's fantastic. She's like confused about buying like a $60 game that's gonna give you hundreds of hours of entertainment. She's like, I just don't think it. She's like, I just don't know if it's worthwhile. Are they gonna get addicted? And I was like, not really, unless you like because like you have control. They're your kids. Oh my god! The other guy who was at games just is just like, what the fuck is happening? Let's just say she didn't get the good discount. I'll tell you that now. Holy shit, though. It's so funny. Oh my god. Anyway, let's play Genshin.